Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and today's video is going to be some Pride Month book recommendations. This video was kind of hard for me to choose books for because I just don't know how to leave books out of this video. I just don't. But I did end up limiting myself to 10 books. Not a top 10 by any means, but we are going to be doing 10 recommendations for now, and then we'll see what the future holds. So content warnings for all of these books will be listed down in the description below, so if you have any concerns, please do go and check those out. And then also linked down below will be my Pride Month TBR, and then also some other videos, mostly like journal with me's and spoiler-free reviews that I did for a lot of the books in this video. And then I also do know at least one of these books does have some resources linked in the back of their book, and I want to put those down in the description. And then also if any of the others on this list also have those resources, they will be down there as well. I said linked, didn't I? Listed. I meant listed in the back of the book. So with that, we are going to go in alphabetical order here, and let's just go ahead and get started. So the first series that we are starting off with is Bloom Into You by Nakatani Nio. This follows our main character, who is a big fan of shoujo manga and has always dreamed of the day when she would finally get a confession of her own. However, when that day comes from one of her male classmates, she ends up feeling nothing. She enters high school still unsure of how to respond, but gets inspired when she sees a member of the student council turn down her own suitor, so she goes to ask her for advice. Our main character's romance may have finally begun, however, when the next confession that she receives comes from that student council member herself. Okay, so this spot on the list is for both Volume 1 of the manga and Novel 1 of the light novel, which is as far as I have gotten, but it is more than enough to know that I need this series in my life. I actually did read the light novel first, which is a spin-off that follows one of the classmates from this one. And I think reading the light novel first actually gave me like a really interesting experience with her character. I feel like I know her really well, and it feels weird to feel like I know her more than like the main characters. But I also enjoy that feeling, and I really like seeing her again in the manga. As for the manga itself, it's pretty cute so far. I like the art style. I definitely do think there needs to be some development in here, but I'm sure that's coming. It's only Volume 1. And yeah, I'm just really excited to dive more into both of these, and also the anime eventually. And I will say on that note, the manga really did make me want to go watch the anime, but I do think I want to read like these series first, but we'll see how long that lasts for. So next up in this video is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. This follows our main character Yadriel, who wants to prove that he is a real brujo to his family who have problems accepting his gender. Due to this, he and his cousin perform the needed ritual themselves as they set out to free the ghost of his cousin who was recently murdered. However, instead of his cousin, he accidentally summons the ghost of his high school's bad boy. Okay, so this is my wonderful 2021 book of the year. I feel like it's a book that fits really well into the fall, but that also has not stopped me from wanting to reread it all year round. Other than that great atmosphere, this book also comes with some really amazing characters. I remember really gelling with our main character specifically, but I also really enjoyed his cousin, and then also Julian the bad boy as well. And I also think the three of them together led to some really fun moments. There is some amazing comedy in this book, and also just like an amazing and lovely romance with, once again, really fun banter. This was just a book that I never wanted to put down, and I never wanted it to end. It's also the first of 3 books that came in at the end of 2021 and just saved my entire reading year. And just everything about it holds a special place in my heart. So next up is Criers War by Nina Varela. Criers War follows this world where the human race has been taken over by these beings known as Autome, who were once originally designed to be the playthings of royals prior to their rise to power. We follow a human named Isla, who is a servant who dreams of avenging her family by killing the sovereign's daughter, Crier. We also do follow Crier, who is preparing to take over and inherit her father's rule, but she soon realizes that the people that she is close to aren't as kind as she once thought. Okay, so this spot also goes to its sequel, Ironheart. And the first thing that always comes to mind when I think of this series is its absolutely beautiful writing. Criers War had moments that genuinely tried to destroy my heart, and that is especially the case with the romance that is in these books. Crier is also just one of my favorite characters ever, and I do really like Isla too, but it took like the sequel to get her on a similar level to Crier for me, whereas whereas I pretty much like Crier right away. But it did happen, and that's all that matters. There are some really cool and interesting concepts and just things about the world that feel really engaging and fun, and also really dark at times. This duology also has some really beautiful stories, like within the story. I will say I remember this being the case more from Ironheart because it's been a little bit of a while since I've read Criers War and things are a little bit fuzzy. Ironheart is also a book that kind of surprised me with the direction it took. I feel like I felt things more with my heart and with my emotions more with Criers War than Ironheart, but then I also thought Ironheart felt a lot more fun. And that's not to say Ironheart didn't also bring out those strong emotions in me, because there were definitely moments that did. And then that all just mostly pertains to the romance. They have some really amazing chemistry and dialogue, and overall just really, really beautiful moments together. This is definitely one of my favorite duologies, and I will be forever happy that I read it. So next up is Dreadnought by April Daniels. Dreadnought follows our main character Danny, who is trying to keep everyone from finding out that she is transgender. But that all changes when the superhero Dreadnought is murdered right in front of her eyes, and when he transfers his powers to her, Danny finally finds herself in the body that she's always thought that she should have had. However, alongside the confusion of coming out, Dreadnought's murderer Utopia is still on the loose, and it's up to Danny to stop her. This was a fun book that also had some really frustrating moments, because there are a lot of really frustrating and infuriating comments and characters in here, and just like a lot of transphobia and homophobia all around. But this book also does have a really fun superhero setting. It feels like a novel version of a comic book, which is really cool. We also have a main character who's really easy to root for. She's very likable, and I just want her to be happy. Once again, she has a really fun personality, and it definitely adds to the fun of the book. During the fun parts, at least, that is. Once again, content warnings are linked down in the description below. As for the superhero setting, this book has some really interesting heroes and villains and all those in between. And I also remember really enjoying the fight scenes, which I literally almost never say, so I don't know what happened with this one, but I love that it did happen. There are characters and concepts that I just want to see more of and know everything about, and the sequel for this book is on my TBR for the month, so hopefully that happens soon. So next up is Elatsoe by Darcie Little Badger. So this takes place in a version of America that is like the one that we know today, but it has been shaped by the monsters, magic, legends, and knowledge of its people, both indigenous and not. We follow our main character Elatsoe, who is able to raise the ghosts of dead animals, which is a skill that was passed down through generations of her family. When her cousin is murdered in a very picture-perfect town, it's up to Elatsoe to uncover its dark secrets and protect her family. Okay, so we do have some asexual representation here with our main character, and then we also just have another really amazing main character on this list. I really liked her. This feels like a book that could have had a ton of other books after it, just following her adventures, and I would have been there for every single one of them. But that is not the case, and I am just really grateful for the story I got with her in this one. There's a really lovely friendship in here, and also just like relationships all around. She has these really supportive parents and members of her family, and it all just felt so heartwarming. This is not really my genre. I don't typically love mysteries, which did end up impacting me some while reading this, unfortunately, towards the middle. It just put me into like a little bit of a reading slump, but this is also the book that brought me right back out of that reading slump towards the end. And honestly, out of all the mysteries that I've tried to read, this is definitely one of my favorites, and I think that says a lot about it, honestly, because I do really like this book. The world is also really interesting, and I just wanted to know everything about it, which I've been saying a lot in this video, and it probably won't be the last time I say it either, because it is true and factual, and I love that. So next up is Felix Ever After by Kacen Callender. This follows our main character Felix, who has never been in love before, but Felix's catfish scenario plan for revenge against a person who anonymously sent him transphobic messages and posted his dead name alongside pictures of him prior to his transition accidentally lands him in a quasi-love triangle. This sends Felix on a journey of self-discovery as he works through his complicated feelings and redefines his relationship with himself. So since my 2021 favorite made the list, it would not feel correct to also not include my favorite from 2020. This book took me on an absolute roller coaster with this love triangle thing that they have going on in here. It was fun, and whenever I look back on the days when I read this book, I just grow to respect how invested this book got me into the story, because also like mysteries, I'm not a huge fan of love triangles. Although I have been liking them a lot more recently, and this book kind of started that, I think, so that's something too, I guess. I also remember really loving the art school setting and really gelling with Felix as a character. There's also a really, really lovely romance in here that made me so incredibly happy, even though this book is also definitely not a stranger to heavy moments and it covers a lot of different important topics. Overall, I just cherish the memories I have of reading this book, and those feelings have only grown over time. So next up is Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating by Adiba Jaigirdar. This follows our main character Hani, who is one of the most popular girls at her school. When she comes out to her friends as bisexual, they invalidate her identity. This causes her to panic and tell her friends that she's actually in a relationship with a girl that her friends all hate. This girl is named Ishu, and she agrees to follow along with the lie if our main character helps her become more popular so that she has a chance of being elected head girl. However, everything changes when they start developing real feelings for one another. This book had me hooked from the very first paragraph. It might have even been like the first sentence or something. I don't know. I also do think this book got me like mildly addicted to the fake dating trope. I enjoyed following both girls in the story, but I really did enjoy following Ishu, and I think I gelled with her a little bit more, but I did like both of them and I liked seeing the character growth. I also really loved the romance. I thought they were super cute, and I don't know, I just like the way they worked together. As for the story itself, you can probably tell by the synopsis, but there are also some really infuriating and frustrating characters in this book. Our two main characters also go to a mostly all-white school, and this book does cover how these characters are impacted and affected by racism. And then this book also covers topics of sexuality and biphobia and homophobia. This book also happens to be the first book in a couple of years that I have managed to read basically all in one day. And I say basically because I was technically up past midnight with it, but I am still counting it. I do think that maybe this book could have been a little bit longer, but I'm also very greedy and sometimes it's hard to differentiate the two. And I am just glad that I read this book overall. So next up we have Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. So this is a graphic novel that follows the story of our main character Charlie, who is an openly gay high school student and kind of like a high-strung overthinking type. And then this also follows our other main character Nick, who is like a cheerful and soft-hearted rugby player. These two become friends very quickly once they meet. Charlie is falling for Nick hard, but just is not sure if he has a chance. Okay, so I technically haven't read the 4th volume yet. It's on my TBR though, so that should be happening soon. Otherwise, the spot on this list goes to both the graphic novels and also the Netflix show, because I do just really love them both so much, and I can't seem to talk about one while also not hyping the other at the same time. There are so many amazing couples and friendships in this story. It feels kind of educational in a way, with just like the exploration of its serious topics, but I also always leave Heartstopper in a positive mood. It feels celebratory and it makes my heart feel so happy and safe. There's just something about it that feels so comforting to me. And I just do really love everything this series has to offer, and I love seeing all of these couples and characters being happy and love and supporting one another. And I am just so excited for the next 2 seasons of the show, and then also for volume 4 as well. So next up is In Deeper Waters by F.T. Lukens. This book follows our main character Tal, who is a prince who is on his coming of age tour. This is his first time really outside of the palace, as he has been trying to hide his forbidden powers. Tal's big adventure really begins, however, when the crew that he is sailing with discovers a mysterious prisoner named Athlin, who Tal is then instructed to watch over. So this is a high fantasy that is basically described as a mix of Pirates of the Caribbean and Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. So I've never seen Pirates of the Caribbean, but I have read Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, and that feels like a very good comparison. I don't know, there's just something about this book. It feels so wholesome and adorable, and it just makes me smile. And that's not to say this book doesn't also have its darker moments and moments that played with my heart in a way that is actually kind of unacceptable, because like, how dare you? But also in a good way, and I just got so attached to this story, especially towards the end of the book. Like, I literally could not put it down, and I never wanted it to end. And on that note, I do think this book showed a lot of potential towards the end, and even though I liked the ending, part of me was like, no, don't stop, I'm not ready to go yet. because I don't know, something about the world never really clicked with me the way that it should have, and I wanted to see more. And I also thought the characters and the romance were so sweet and adorable, and I didn't want to leave them either. And then, as you also may be able to tell by how much I'm hyping the later portion of this book, there were parts of the story that I did end up enjoying more than the others. But then this is also another book, and I think I did read it around the same time as Elatsoe, so there were still remnants of that reading slump. But also, just like with Elatsoe, this book helped bring me out of it. And I just hauled So This Is Ever After by this author recently, and I am just so excited for it, especially after reading this one. Okay, so the last book on this list is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. So this follows our main character Ben after they are kicked out of their house by their parents after coming out as non-binary. They are then forced to move in with their sister Hannah and her husband, who are estranged from the family. They place Ben into a new school where they will be trying to get through the last half of their senior year while also dealing with an anxiety disorder and just the rejection from their parents. Their new classmate Nathan takes them under his wing, and as their friendship grows stronger, their feelings for each other start to change. I definitely had to take a few breaks while reading this one. Most of the reasons for that were related to the coming out scene, but not all of them. So that was definitely a thing, but this book also has a lot of wonderful moments that feel like a light in the darkness type of thing going on. And I got super invested in that, and also the romance, and then just also Ben as a character. This is another book that I just kind of wish it was a little bit longer to further develop some things. It's a story that feels like it goes fast, but it also really does take the time to slow down. Like I mentioned before, it definitely does have those difficult and terrible moments, but it also does have these really cute and fun moments too. And also just some really amazing banter and characters as well. So yeah, even though this one was difficult for me at times, it definitely does have a nice little place in my heart, just like all of the books on this list do. And then also like a lot of the books that could have been on this list but aren't also do. I don't know, I feel like I need to do a part 2 to this video just for like my own general sanity, but this is all for now. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that'll be around here if you want to do that, and hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye.